And could you bring your left arm out in front of you and turn your palm to the left? So the back of your hand is facing to the right of you. Palm is to the left. Little finger will be towards the ceiling. Little finger, the other little finger, not the thumb. Left hand is out in front of you, about shoulder height. Your little finger is towards the ceiling. Your palm is to the left. Okay, could you bring your right hand over the top and interlace your fingers? And then delace them and put them down. Did you hold your breath? I saw a dozen people hold their breath. So rest your arm for a moment. I was just thinking of, the different ways Moshe would try and break people's attachment to achievement, authority, and facilitate them listening to themselves. So it's both my strength and my weakness is that I have a lot of patience, but I also can get incredibly impatient when you don't listen to yourselves. And it's a sign of progress when you start taking responsibility for your own comfort and awareness of yourself. Okay? Now, I'm as human as you, so I actually have no judgment about you doing it. I'm just letting you know that it's a huge sign of progress when you start to integrate that into everyday life. Once I love gardening, big garden. I've got a chainsaw. I used to lift sleepers and pick and hack and shift 40 meters of mulch, all those sorts of things. And I always used to go flat out. And I'd always take me 3 days to recover. So the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, working with clients, I'd think, oh my goodness, I feel so bad. So one day, somehow it entered my head. What about if I only move the way I can and pay attention to my breathing? I had no pain. I lasted all day. I might have done a tad less, but I had no discomfort. And I was able to work with my clients easily. So, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to trust me. Try it out for yourself. But it really takes diligence, persistence, being able to be mindful, which is learning something itself. So please bring your hands this time. Bring your left hand out in front. So it doesn't have to be at shoulder height. Just bring it out in front of you. Is it most comfortable to bring it to shoulder height? What about maybe it's most comfortable if you don't lift it to shoulder height? You just bring it out in front of you. So in front of you is in front of your pubic bone. It's in front of your belly button. It's in front of your sternum. And bring your right hand over the top. Interlace your fingers. And begin to move your arms a little right and a little left. So this morning we did a movement with your legs lying on your side like a pendulum. Could you make this like a pendulum type action? And how much of yourself do you involve? Do you keep your arms straight? What about if you allow your left elbow to bend as you go to the left? Your right elbow bend as you go to the right? Maybe that's not the easy alternative. Maybe you want to try bending your left elbow when you go to the right and your right elbow when you go to the left. So try lowering your arms. Lowering means lower than your hands are lower than your shoulders. Your hands can start down near your knees. down near your knees. And then swing them, a bit like a pendulum. So they go up to one side, down in the middle, and up to the other. Then listen to how much of yourself is involved in that action. Okay, pause in the middle. So still not everyone quite has the connection with the hands that we're looking for. So bring your left arm out the front again. Turn your palm to the left. Turn your left palm to the left. Bring your right hand over the top, and interlace your fingers, but this time non-habitually. Notice how that feels. And begin to move your arms right and left, like a pendulum. So that's down in the middle and up to the sides. Pay attention to the speed with which you're doing this and how much of yourself you're using. What's your head doing? Does your head make the same pendulum movement? Or a similar arc through space? Really think of swinging your arms and looking for a smooth movement that has no jerks, that goes a little bit faster when it goes up to the sides, one elbow bending when you go in one direction, one elbow bending. So it's not keeping the arms in a straight triangle. When you go to the left, your left elbow bends. Yes, and look, you can swing further. Fancy that. We create. 90% of the time, probably, we create our limitations. We create the effort, the difficulty. Could you begin to make a circular movement with your arms? So the pendulum movement is the bottom half of the circle. Keep going in the same direction and feel what your head and your pelvis need to do to help you. Can you change directions? And if you have your legs crossed, change the crossing of your legs. Can you go up to the left, overhead, down to the right, or the other direction if you're doing the other direction? Okay, please leave it, lie on your back and rest. Could you bring your left arm in front of you? Turn the palm to the left. So we're always, unless I say otherwise, we're doing this configuration of the arms. Bring your right arm over the top of your left so your wrists are crossed. Turn the palm of your right hand towards the palm of your left hand and interlace your fingers. With your legs long, if it's comfortable, and slowly begin to take your arms towards the floor above your head and bring them back. Can you notice the moment where the degree of difficulty, degree of resistance increases? Next time your arms are above your head somewhere, can you begin to move them a little rightward and a leftward? So some people can easily touch the floor, but it's not about touching the floor. It's about finding where is the place in the direction of the floor where you can move both of your arms rightward and leftward, but in the direction of over your head. What's invited into this action through your torso? Okay, rest a moment. Come back, configure your arms the same way. Now bring them overhead, and as you, in the direction of the floor, as you move them to the right, can you bring your hands in the direction of your right shoulder a little bit? And then take them away from your right shoulder, make them longer, move them to the left, and take them a little bit towards your left shoulder. You can bend your elbows. You can soften the interlacing of your fingers. It's not rolling right and left. It's that configuration of your arms. Bring them above your head. And now move both of your arms a little bit to the right on the floor, and then letting your elbows bend. Letting your, how do you get around your head? Not under your, yeah, you can go under your head. Okay. You can go under your head. You can go over your head. Can you bring your hands and feel the twist that happens through your forearms, through your upper arms, and what's happening in your shoulder blades and in relationship to your ribs as you go from one shoulder, it lengthening your arms overhead, and then bringing your hands, your interlaced hands, towards your other shoulder. How can you turn your forearm? Can you turn your forearms, bend your elbows so that your hands move towards the ceiling, then turn downwards towards your shoulder? Downwards relative to the top of your head. Can you breathe as you do this? Okay, rest a moment. So what do you do when something feels difficult or impossible? What's your strategy? Maybe you have more than one. It's about trying harder, concentrating more. It can be a very useful time to take a pause, to imagine the movement, and to discover what's absent in your image, or to do a much smaller range. Can you roll yourself up to sitting, please? Sit in a symmetrical way if you can. Bring your right arm in front, palm to the right. Bring your left, cross your left arm over. Turn your left palm towards your right and interlace your fingers. And then could you just relax your arms down? Just sit there for a minute. What's different with your arms in this configuration than if your hands were just resting on your lap, for instance? Can you recognize any change in relation? So put your hands on your lap, on your thighs somewhere. Bring your right arm forwards and feel what happens in your shoulder blades. So now that you've had that experience of having your shoulder blades explored in several different ways, can it be more present in your image of yourself? Can you feel how does it change its relationship on your ribs as you bring your hand forwards and orient your palm to the right, and then bring your left arm across your right and feel does the shoulder blade move closer to your spine, further away from your spine? Does it change its angle on your ribs? And interlace your fingers like that. Lower your hands to a comfortable place. And then see, can you turn your hands so they slide upwards on your abdomen in the direction of your sternum and chin? And then slide them back down again. Do that several times, following what's happening through the bones of your arms, your shoulder blade, your spine. Next time your hands are through, can you stay there and move your hands towards your right shoulder and across your chest to your left shoulder? So the amount of air exchange in the room is better, but listen to yourself and see if there's a moment where you stop your breath and find out, is it possible to do this in a way that you sense your breathing coming in and going out in the background? And what difference does that make to the quality of your movement or how much of yourself you involve in the movement? And now can you bring your hands up to touch your chin? And could you slide your hands along your chin towards your right ear and then back, and then towards your left ear and back, listening to your breathing, and then gradually expand that movement till you go up to your one temple and then back down and then up to the other temple, listening to what's happening through yourself, both the contact of your hands with your face and the movement of your shoulder blades relative to your ribs and your spine at the back of you. Could you gradually circle around your face? Then notice whether you're moving your head to adapt to your hands or keeping your head still. Does one way allow your breathing to be freer? Could you begin to go around behind your head? More towards the back of your head? Maybe you start by going round to the side of your neck and up over the top of your head. And then down to the other side. But listening to all the changing relationships in your shoulder girdle. It's incredibly complex movement. in its timing and coordination. Bless you. And maybe, how could you make it easier to get behind your head? Maybe it's got something to do with rounding your back, folding. Because we can help ourselves when one part of ourselves doesn't have access to its full flexibility. We can assist with some other part which can improve the ease, the range, the smoothness of the movement. Okay, please let that go. Unlace your hands and take a rest on your back. Notice what your contact with the floor tells you about what you've been doing. Please bend your knees, stand your feet. Bring your right hand forwards in front of you, cross it with the left, interlace your fingers non-habitually. And then let your elbows bend, turn your hands towards yourself. So your fingers could come and rest on your sternum with your elbows in the air. And then from there, can you slide up your sternum and around one side of your neck? Come back down over your sternum. And is it helpful to rotate your knuckles a little bit more towards the floor, or a little bit more towards your head, or a little bit more towards your feet? And could you find out what it's like to begin to explore around your head? Around and over and back down. So your hands are turning relative to yourself in this twisted position, configuration that will sometimes untwist a little and other times twist more. Change directions if you haven't already. And take a pause. Please roll yourself to sitting. Organize yourself to have your arms in the same configuration. So that's right arm forwards, palm to the right, thumb down to the floor, little finger to the ceiling. Bring your left arm over the top. Turn the palm of your left hand to face your right palm and interlace your fingers. Turn your hands towards yourself. And see, can you turn them a little bit outward? A little bit outward. So you take your hands away from you and just notice what's happening in your shoulder blades. What's happening in your clavicles? What can you sense? So keep turning them inside and outside, taking the hands away from you so you're unbending your elbows. Now, leave your elbows bent, your hands turned inside out, and you can see that your elbows are bent. Could you find a way of sliding your left elbow over the angle, through the angle that's created by your right upper arm and your right forearm? Could you find a way to slide your left elbow through the angle that's created by your right upper arm and your right elbow? So there's a bend there. So now notice, this is when achievement disease, spreads like an epidemic. So there's a few people that can do this really simply and think, what the? Okay, but there will always be, in any ATM lesson, usually, there is one or two people that have access to that coordination and those relationships. And there are others that's really unfamiliar. So what you can do is soften your fingers. It is not a simple thing. If you can think you can just do it, that's the disease of achievement. But maybe if you can think, what am I doing with my shoulder blades? How would they need to move in relationship to my ribs? Or what am I doing with my head? Because if you stiffen your neck, it's an impossibility. If you stiffen your sternum, it becomes almost impossible. Okay, I have to kind of do it. So the left arm elbow is sliding over the right elbow, the angle of the right elbow. So maybe forget about your left elbow for a minute. Would it be easier to take your right elbow under your left one? Yeah. Feeling your breathing, sensing your breathing. And that the corners of your mouth are ready to smile. And some people, so a few of you can do this really easily, and other people can't even imagine how to do it. And that will be what happens when you begin to teach awareness through movement classes. You'll find that's really true. Some people can do things easily and others can't. What about if you think of both elbows at the same time? So the left one and right one both moving in the opposite directions. Does tightening your jaw help? You can loosen your fingers a little if it's really. Does turning your shoulders help? Is there something? What would your ribs need to do? Do you need to get shorter on the left side or shorter on the right side? Maybe that's something you could try. Because maybe you were doing the opposite. And what about how you use your head in relationship to your shoulders and space? So you thought last week was a little difficult? It's fun. Could you think of it as fun? Maybe that, a game. You've got these two arms, and how could they possibly form this configuration without cutting them somewhere? Okay, it's going to be the puzzle for the week. Please lie on your back. Amongst some other puzzles. It's not the only puzzle. And now notice how you're lying. Do you sense a difference between your right and left arms? your right and left shoulders, yourself, and then your breathing. And then take your time, roll yourself via one of your sides and bring yourself up to sitting and up into standing. And notice how you experience yourself standing now. Notice, give yourself some time and attention to notice yourself walking and any sensations of movement in your arms, in your torso, anywhere in your entire self, or any changing relationships that might be a little different. And we will have lunch now and come back at 2:15.